Hey there everybody, this is Caitlin here and welcome back to Card Game Tuesday, the day of the week where we enjoy all things card game related. And for once, actually, we do not have a deck profile this week. We have something a little bit different, a little bit discussion. We have here a top 5 because it's been a little while since we've done a top 5 recently. And, we are getting deeper into the Rhea Cluster spoiler articles and whatnot. So I thought it would be a good idea to look back on the past, to reminisce on some things, to look at the Alice Cluster because literally it will be rotating out very, very soon. Practically like on top of us right now, so I thought it would be a good idea to look back on Alice Cluster and remember a couple of the good old days with it. It had some high points, had some low points. In this video in particular, we're going to be discussing my favorite, or rather my top 5 rulers slash J rulers of the Alice Cluster. Now this is all personal preference, so it's not going to be one of those ones where it's like a meta list or whatever, like the most meta rulers from Alice Cluster and everything like that. No. This is going to be just my personal preference, whether it be my attachment to the character, attachment to the mechanic, whether I had like a fun deck built with it and everything like that. That's really the kind of thing. So it's kind of like a sharing, like a little opinion piece, if you will, on some of my favourite ruler cards, whatever, from the Alice Cluster. I might do like a top 5 least favourite G rulers from Alice Cluster because I certainly have a couple of least favourites from that one in particular. Maybe next week we'll do that. Just a kind of back-to-back thing to kind of look back on Alice Cluster. I mean, it is going to be able to be available in Wanderer, obviously, but at the same time, it's just like not many people really play Wanderer. I know at my locals we joke about how we are never having a Wanderer tournament just because of how kind of janky or like broken Wanderer can get, even with like the latest bans and unbans and whatnot. So looking up this list here for number 5, we have a Friend from Another World, Kaguya. I'll go over what the cards actually do and whatnot, and then I'll discuss why it was I have a little bit of an attachment to it. So on her ruler side, she has a judgment of 3, which is a light, a moon, and a void. You can spend Moonwell as though it were green, so if it was wind. Whenever a moon enters your field, you may draw a card, so she is pretty awesome. This was obviously the reintroduction of the reincarnated Kaguya from way back in Grim Cluster. Obviously, before she was different, she was mainly blue and whatnot. She got reincarnated and everything, and she became more of a light and a green one, kind of reminiscent of how she was raised by both Zero and Feasting. And then when she flips over, she becomes Kaguya, the Moonlit Savior, the moniker of that set. You may spend Moonwell as though it were wind, same thing as always. Whenever you awaken a card, you put 2 100 counters on this card. You can pay a moon and cancel a target automatic ability. You can pay a light and a void and prevent the next damage that would be dealt to this card this turn. And obviously back in Alice Cluster we had pretty much God's Art. So God's Art is the light of the sacred moon. It was a hefty one. It was 1 light, 1 moon and 3 void. Rest all J/Resonators your opponent controls, then recover all magic stones you control. You may pay the awakening cost 1 moon less this turn. And obviously you can only do a God's Art once per game. Now, the reason why I got so attached to Kaguya, mainly because of how silly decks could be. So obviously, light and wind is already a pretty good combination when it comes to colour combos for dual decks and whatnot, because obviously you've got access to counters, you've got access to some pretty decent resonators and everything like that. But combining them together with Kaguya when she has like all these awakenings and whatnot for her spells was pretty good. Obviously, you had Seal of Wind and Light, which is a pretty good one. Wall of Wind was pretty good for Kaguya as well. But also, I like the idea of making the bunny deck. So I have a friend at my locals who also had the bunny deck, and it was kind of funny just seeing how jank it could get, how mad it could get when you've got like the bunnies and they're powering up the Resonator Kaguya, the one who is like the rabbit princess and all this stuff. So this ruler in particular was really fun. I also had fun making kind of like it was angel build with this one, so it was kind of interesting how it had like the angels and you had like the spells, whatever, that could get awakened and they could cancel things and everything like that. So I really liked it. I really like this. This set in particular, it was like, it had its good points, it had its bad points. But I think out of this particular set, Kaguya was my favourite, like, from Moonlit Savior overall. Because I can't think of any other rulers in Moonlit Savior that I liked at all. I think because we had, like, Yggdrasil, we had Lapis, what was even the water one? I can't even remember what the water ruler was. It wasn't Valentina again. No, it wasn't. Something else? I have no idea. I can't remember off the top of my head what the water ruler was from. Oh no, it was Shion. That's it, Shion. I do like Shion as well, but I felt like, it wasn't as good as maybe Kaguya. Moving on to our next one, some of these cards might not be the best resolution, I will add, because I've been trying to find the ones with the 2 cards together, and sadly not all of them have the best resolution, so my apologies if this one isn't the best. But this one here, we have the Memorial of the 7 Lands. Obviously, not much to say on the ruler side. It had a judgment of 4 void, but the one in particular that I liked was Arla, Guardian of the Skies, because obviously you had the wombo combo of Arla using Grubalesta and Grubalesta's secret technique, where you could have like infinite combo of attacking stones, depending on whether you got your combo right and everything like that. This card gains Arla, the Hegemon of the Sky, in addition to its other names. You could still use it with the God's Bow, Artemis. And when this card enters your field, if you control a First Flight's Memoria, put the top card of your Magic Stone deck into your Magic Stone area and recover all Magic Stones you control. Then draw a card. If you control 4 of them, then you draw 3 cards instead of 1. And whenever a Resonator you control attacks, you recover a Magic Stone you control. So this was pretty much a lot of fun with the Wombo combo in terms of the stones. It was pretty good for like card draw. It was kind of good. The only thing that I didn't like about this deck was that obviously Arla is an angel, but he doesn't fly. Like, for some reason, even though he is the wind attribute, he has wings. He is clearly an angel. They removed flying from him, which I guess they did that to try and make him not seem as OP or anything like that. But at the same time, it was like, this is a little bit silly, and the fact that he doesn't fly. I mean, his original J-Ruler flies, his Resonator flies. It's kind of ridiculous how it's like, this is one of the only versions, I think, of Arla that doesn't fly, other than, I can't remember whether the one in Extraordinary World flies or not. It's been a while since I've looked at that card, so I'm not too sure, but I had a lot of fun with my Darkwind deck back in the day. You remember a deck profile of it I think it was a couple of months ago, way back, but I enjoyed this deck, even though it quickly got countered and whatnot, but I will miss having Arla doing his crazy stone shenanigans in the future. I mean, Arla is one of my favourite characters, even though he sadly had like the least amount of development out of the Seven Kings. I think next to, who was the other one? I think him and perhaps Rezard had the least amount of development, I think, because, well, actually, Rezard at least got, like, a little bit from his parents, but we literally get to know nothing about Arla, and I feel a little bad, because I think out of all the Seven Kings, he got the least amount of love. Like, Machina and Mirabella got their whole backstory. Melgus got a little bit of backstory with Faria and Serto, and Rezard got his backstory with his parents. I can't even remember who else. Valentino, obviously, Alice, and blah, blah, blah. Chrystia. So I think he got the least amount of development out of all the characters, which is a shame because he seemed pretty cool. But next up, we actually have our third card in particular that I'm quite fond of. We have Girl in Twilight Garb, who's obviously Dark Alice. She has a judgment of 0. You play this ability only if you have removed 3 or more cards from the game with this card's ability, and you pay a darkness and remove the target card in your opponent's graveyard, and it gets removed from the game. And when she flips over, she becomes Dark Alice. Is it Maiden of Slaughter? Yeah, Maiden of Slaughter. It's kind of hard to read it in the texture of this card. My apologies, because the only one I could find was the stamped version, sadly. But she has target attack, which people now know as precision, I believe. Is it precision? Yeah, because it's not pierce. Pierce is something completely different. When this card enters your field, you choose a number, destroy all Resonators with total cost equal to the chosen number, which obviously affects your side as well, so you need to be careful what you pick. And the only thing that she has here is she has her God's Art, which is Walpurgis Night, which is 2 dark. G/Resonators your opponent controls gain -2/2, and for the rest of the game. Then you search your main deck for a card named Schrodinger, the Fallen Black Cat, and put it into your field. Then shuffle your main deck. You can only play it once per game. Obviously, Schrodinger was her Regalia, technically, because it was the one that worked with her. Although people were saying it's kind of weird how the cat is a Regalia and not her weapon, which is the Scythe. But I suppose since Rezard already had Death Scythe, they felt it would be a little bit weird to make another Regalia that was a Scythe. So, hey-ho. But I quite like this card or whatever. I didn't play this deck often myself or whatever, but I did enjoy the cards while it was there. Obviously the Dark Alice character made its way into Lapis Cluster and whatnot, but it's kind of interesting character and how she's kind of like she's like the violent, chaotic anti-hero and whatnot, and that she technically wants the same goal as Alice in like defeating Lapis and whatnot, but she is willing to basically take out anyone who stands in her way. All the Seven Kings, the other Alice, literally anyone. Like if anyone gets in her way of achieving her goal, she's just going to cut them down with that scythe of hers. And she's a little bit crazy. She talks to the cat, which I quite like in her, so that's one of the reasons why she's at my number 3. We're getting near to the top of the list. Probably no surprise about who's going to be on top. But the second one we have Chrystia. I've chosen to do the Ascend Chrystia because technically it is still counting for SKL. So it still counts as being like the first Chrystia. So this was one of the first decks I ever made. Like not obviously this Chrystia, but the original one. Chrystia was like one of the first rulers I built a deck for. I was totally in love with the 4 Sacred Beasts. And I desperately wanted that deck to work. It did sometimes work or whatever. But it badly needed updating or whatever. As more rulers and decks came out, it was much easier to counter the 4 Sacred Beasts, so I kind of fell to the wayside. But Chrystia, this is the original Chrystia ruler, so it will always be my favourite. It will have a little bit of a place in my heart, and it will never go away. So obviously, The Ascended version, there's a lot more text, but we'll read it over. So, Chrystia, friend to the animals. Her judgment is 2 green. She has Energize, which the updated version has the Ascended version. She gains Chrystia the Beast Lady in addition to its other name, so that was her original name. You may pay the attribute cost of 4 Sacred Beast Resonators with Will of any type, and you can pay 2 green and you choose one. Beasts you control gain 100/100 until end of turn, or 4 Sacred Beasts you control gain 100/100 until end of turn. When she flips over with the Ascended version anyway, it is Chrystia, Champion of Yggdrasil. She's a 1000/1000 human/beast. She gains the Chrystia, the commander of the 4 Sacred Beasts, in addition to its other names, and she has like a huge wall of text and whatnot. This card gains precision as long as you control a light resonator, swiftness as long as you control a fire resonator, flying as long as you control a water resonator, and 200/200 as long as you control a wind resonator. And her gods is Meet My Family, which is rather cute, of also a little bit depressing. And it costs technically 3 wind and then X void. You search your deck for up to X 4 Sacred Beast Resonators with different names, reveal them and put them into your hand, then put up to X 4 Sacred Beast Resonators with different names from your hand into your field, and shuffle your deck. So basically the most you could search out there would be 4 because they have to have different names, so the majority that you could pay for this God's Art would be 7. Yeah, 7 because there's 4 Sacred Beasts and you paid 3 wind. So that is mainly the reason why I like this one. Again, it'll be sad to see it rotate out, considering that it was the only Ascended ruler that I got, because basically it was the only one that I had all the cards for, sadly. But I will still treasure it. It's one of those kind of promo things that I'm glad that I have, even if it's never going to be put in a deck again. But I'm glad to have it. I'm glad to have it. And finally, no surprises here about what my favourite ruler from Alice Cluster was. It is my girl, my queen, my dragon waifu. It is Sylvia Gil Palarilius, and I still adore her. And I was going to pick the cosplay version of this, but actually I prefer the original artwork by your boy Sigman here. So that is why. And apologies, at the bottom of the right-hand corner it says sample image. I couldn't find one with the 2 rulers together that wasn't watermarked in some way, so I apologise. So you may see a little bit of watermark on some sides of the card or whatever, so my apologies for that. But on her ruler side, she has the Judgment of 4, which is 1 fire, 1 wind, and 2 void. Fire magic stones you control gain tap and reduce wind, which is why she is awesome. She flips over, she gets flying and swiftness when she becomes her dragon form. She's a clan founder / dragon, of course. When this card enters your field, it deals 1000 damage to target J/Resonator, and whenever a J/Resonator that was dealt damage by this card this turn is destroyed, you may recover up to 3 target magic stones you control. And she is amazing, she is awesome. I don't know why I fell in love with this character so quickly. It was just, I gained an emotional attachment to it. So you can imagine why, like, so many of my deck profiles had Sylvia as a ruler, because I just couldn't let go of her. She was my favourite kind of fire ruler to use overall. And some of my early Sylvia decks whatever have reached well over 1000 views. Like, it's kind of insane how just building a Sylvia deck, because like Sylvia is just so beloved or whatever by the majority, I think, of Force of Will fans, that a couple of my older deck profiles using her gained like thousands of views, which is absolutely insane. So I think maybe even her in a little bit part also helped boost my channel a little bit with some of those deck profiles. And of course she's the icon for my channel. That's never going away. Even when she rotates out, Sylvia is still going to be there, being my icon, helping me out, being kind of like my mascot, if you can call her that. Because I think certain like people, YouTubers, they'll have an affinity for a certain character, and Sylvia is definitely my character that I have a certain affinity with, and I adore her. Kind of glad that she's got at least a resonator in Lapis Cluster, so that she isn't totally gone, even if the J ruler itself is gone. So she'll still be there for like another year, even if it's just in resonator form. So I'm very, very happy for that. But anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this short video with my top 5 favourite J rulers, or just rulers, whatever you want to call them, from Alice Cluster. Let me know who your favourite rulers are from Alice Cluster, and let me know whether you want me to do a top 5 of my least favourites. I know that maybe there'll be a couple on that list that some people agree with, maybe some people disagree with, but I'm always interested to hear what you guys think. So until next time, guys, I will see you all later.